I am actually a professional content creator by trade. That's what I do, is I teach people how to actually get into the IT profession and what kind of training they need and certifications, blah, 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 blah. This is actually my second YouTube channel. But I will say this right now. This set of videos that you're about to watch in this playlist is arguably the most requested set of videos I have ever received. I'm pretty hyped to break this down for you because it was a tremendous learning process. It is, how do you make an AntMiner silent so that you can run it in your house? How can you get your spouse on board to be allowing you to have an AntMiner in your house? It's true, I was able to take an AntMiner from this. This is honestly the most quiet L3 I've ever heard. It looks like they actually installed some aftermarket fans on it already. But this is still too loud for my wife. And that's what matters, right? To this. Silent AntMiner number 3 is on. Right now it's going through a bit of a tune. So it's louder than normal, I think. Let's see. How loud are we talking about here? So quiet. A significant reduction in decibel level. It's a thing that I had to do because I wanted to mine, I wanted to get passive income, and I wanted to do it inside my house because there was really no other place that I could possibly put it. But AntMiners make a whole lot of noise, so I had to go through some modifications in order to actually getting it to work. Now, that being said, I didn't get it right the first time. I blew up a lot of stuff, so I am now going through it one more time. This will be my sixth working AntMiner in my house. I'm going to document the process of how I actually get this from unboxing all the way to modified so that it's nice and quiet and I can start earning some more passive income. Let's go. Now, mining cryptocurrency is my personal favorite way to earn passive income. You plug it in, you type in some basic configurations, and then you never look at it again. You just wake up to deposits in your crypto account the next day because that's what it does. It earns money in the background. And having been able to modify it, it now just sounds like a little bit of white noise. You don't even notice that it's on, which is really, really cool. But before I go on, you need to listen to this, and you need to listen to it very carefully. There's a lot of risk that you're about to undertake if you choose to go forward. This is going to be your choice to go forward. First of all, cryptocurrency, blockchain, everything, it's a financial investment, it's a time investment, and there's a lot of risk associated with it. So nothing I say here is financial advice. You should always do your own research and make sure that you're doing the thing that's best for you and your situation. Secondly, when it comes to actually modifying an AntMiner itself, this is a risky operation. These AntMiners were built to actually be put in a warehouse and run at max speed of the fans and be loud and, take on heat or whatever and all those things. What we're doing is we are modifying a piece of electrical equipment. I'm even going to modify the power supply itself. So there is physical risk to this. There is environmental risk to this, and you need to make sure that you're willing to take on this risk on your own before you take on the operation. Now, I am going to show you what my environment is, and I'm going to show you how I go about modifying my devices so that they work in my environment, but at no point am I warranting this or guaranteeing that it's going to work for you or your environment or making any sort of claims about safety. This is, again, a very risky operation. So, with that being said, the first thing we need to do is talk about the environment itself that you are going to keep these devices in. I am doing these modifications so that I can keep them inside my air-conditioned, humidity-controlled house. This is a really big deal because when you have an AntMiner, especially the L3 Plus, which is what I'm modifying, the fans on those devices that ship with it, they're very, very loud. But that's because they're very, very powerful. They can run up to 6,000 RPMs and really push a lot of air out. So when we modify it, what I'm doing is I'm replacing the fans with something that have a max speed of 3,000 RPMs. But beyond that, I actually hard code set it to only run at 2,000 RPM. This is a significant reduction from the max speed of the other fans. But I feel like I can take on that amount of risk because I'm keeping these devices in a very controlled environment where they're only sucking in cool air-conditioned air, and there's no humidity involved too. So I live in South Louisiana. There's no way I can put these things in my garage where it's steaming hot and humid every single day. I'm not living in an environment where the air conditioning can fluctuate up for a certain period of day. So I just want to make sure that that's perfectly clear. With that being said, let's take a little walk and I'll actually show you my environment, talking about how does this really look and lay out, including the electrical specifications that I put in place to make all this work. Let's go. So this is it. This is where I'm keeping all of my equipment, as you can see. Now, you can hear my voice compared to the loudness or the sound, the decibel level of these AntMiners. I've got 5 AntMiners across the top. These are all L3 pluses. And then right here, I have a FutureBit Apollo Litecoin miner. Now, how is this all powered is the very first question. So what I did is I had an electrician come and install a new circuit for just these devices. This circuit is a 230 volt, 30 amp circuit. So you can only, with these AntMiners in a typical United States house, our circuits, like these regular plugs, like you see here, these regular plugs, these regular circuits are typically only 15 amp or 10 amp. And really what that equates to is you can really only run one of these things at a time on a given circuit. You definitely, I mean, maybe you could squeeze 2. I tried to squeeze 2 out of this one circuit right here and it didn't work. It flipped the breaker. So you can really only run one at a time on a typical circuit. And beyond that, it gets more complicated because these AntMiners, they don't have wireless. They don't have wireless internet connectivity. So they do have to be hardwired. So basically what we're saying is that wherever you were trying to put an AntMiner, it not only had to be on a circuit that could handle the load, but it also had to be able to reach your switch, your network switch. If that's what you see, I've got a big network switch down here, but you don't need this unless you really want to get sophisticated. This is just part of my IT training stuff that I do, and it just so happens that it works in the same space. So I have this outlet installed right here. Now this looks a lot like the types of outlets that you use on your dryers, right? This receptacle is an L630R. The R stands for receptacle. The plug that's going into this is an L630P. P is for plug. So what you need to do is you basically need to get a power, like a big surge protector or a big power strip that we oftentimes call a PDU. That is a power distribution unit. Now the one that you're looking at here is actually built to go in a data center. You know, where you see all those racks of servers and network switches everywhere. This thing itself is actually built to go attached to the side of a rack. And that's what I bought because, you know, it's what I'm familiar with, I guess. I bought as you can see, it's a trip light that has the L630P plug, and it supports up to 30 amps. Now I paid good money for this because it can be monitored and configured over the network. It also has a monitor on it that shows you your amps in real time, what you have on your load right now. So mine kind of flips back and forth between 15 and 16 amps depending on the load, and I only have my AntMiners and FutureBit plugged into it. Now the next thing to point out is the plugs themselves that are on this. You see, these are not like, here, I'm gonna try and get some good lighting here. These are not the typical plugs. Like if I were to look at the power outlet here, right? It's got, you know, the 3 prongs that plug into it. That's not really how these work. These are the C4, I think they're C14, maybe they're C13. I need to double check that. Check the comments below and I'll make sure to get you the right wording here. But these are C13 or 14 plugs. Now the end that goes in here on the power supplies is exactly the same as it was before. It's the plug part that's different. And these are what are designed to go in here. So you can pick up a C14 or C13 power cord on Amazon for like $5. There's nothing to it. These are very, very common plugs that are deployed here. So then from there, it goes to all my AntMiners and the FutureBit. So the power is a big deal that you want to have here and in line in order to make sure that you can actually run these things. Now again, air conditioning. We've got air conditioning like everywhere. There's air conditioning. This is an air-conditioned home. And I don't let the AC in this house get like above 75, like even on the hot days. So this is, I think it's like set to 72 right now. So it's staying nice and cool and airflow. So you see how I've got these oriented right now where the plugs are this way. Well, that's because I actually reversed the airflow of the fans. You're going to see more about that when we actually get into doing the modification. But this is actually the exhaust side. So if I put my hand right here, I feel nothing but hot air coming out right now. It's blowing the hot air into the rest of my house. This way, and kind of up the stairwell, honestly. If you go up the stairwell, you feel like a blast of hot air right there. But I'm trying to get the hot air to move away from these AntMiners while the AC blows cold air down onto them. So that way these things, they don't have to run at a very high RPM because they're constantly sucking in cold air and blowing the hot air a long way away. And they're getting their power from the L630 outlet. And they're plugged into my network here. So you can see, I mean, if you're interested in the network portion at all, I'm using just a basic UniFi switch. Again, if you're not a network engineer, that may be a little advanced for you. And I'm running fiber to the other end of my house where the router is. So there we go. That's what my setup in my house is like. Now what I'll do is I'll show you how did I actually procure my AntMiners, as well as what pools am I mining to. So how to procure an AntMiner. I personally like to mine Litecoin or the script algorithm in general, so I stick to the AntMiner L3 Pluses. I also did pre-order a couple of AntMiner L7s through Compass Mining that are coming out, next year, or that's when they're supposed to come online. Now, I have bought AntMiner L3 Pluses from eBay as well as Alibaba. Here's the pros and cons to both. I'm going to search for AntMiner L3 Plus right now on eBay, and you're going to see these prices are, they're going to hover around the 1300s at this time because the prices of AntMiners fluctuate with the prices of what the currencies that they're mining, like Litecoin in this case. So when you scroll down, you're going to see a lot of them are currently under bidding, but they're going to make their way up to around that 1300-ish range. And that's where they're probably going to settle. So when you buy from eBay, especially if you're in the USA and you see something like USA Seller, the first thing you should know is a few things. The chances of these AntMiners being in good condition is better than buying them from somewhere else. That being said, there's still an okay chance that you'll buy an AntMiner L3 Plus that doesn't work. These devices are older at this point. They're still great for mining. You'll still make some good money, or at least some decent money, probably, as long as the price of Litecoin doesn't fluctuate too much. But it could take some time to make your money back off of them at the same time. So you got to make sure that this is going to be the right type of investment that you want. And of course, you do have the ability to sell your AntMiner later. It's not a true sunk cost, as long as there remains a market that demands the AntMiner, as long as, the AntMiner keeps going on. So that being said, you have a better chance of getting a AntMiner that's in good condition, clean condition, and working condition. That being said, I have bought AntMiners off of eBay where one of the boards doesn't work, and the boards are pretty expensive to replace. In an AntMiner L3 Plus, there are 4 boards. If one of them dies, you can still keep mining. You just unplug it. You just unplug that one board from the power and from the control board, and it just keeps running and just runs off of 3 boards, and your hash rate is 3/4 what it should have been, but you can still make some money off of it. The other flip side to that, I'll point out, is that you can sell that dead L3 Plus board. People like buying these dead boards. As long as you say this is a dead board, it doesn't work. They like the parts, and you can probably make 50 to 100 bucks off selling a dead board if that's what you want. I've sold 2 of them. Both of them sold for like $70-ish at this point, because I went through a lot of mistakes doing all these modifications and blew up a lot of equipment. So the things that you're looking for here are, first of all, where is it shipping from? That's going to be a big deal. So when you click on one of these AntMiners here, You can kind of scroll down to the section. You can read about it, make sure it's in good condition. And usually you can see like where exactly is it shipping from. This one, it's kind of small font right there, Overland Park, Texas. Here, let me zoom in for you a little bit. Let's just do, woo, big zoom. Yeah, okay, it's right there. You know, kind of move my head a little bit. It's right here. Get it by Thursday of next week. It's in Overland Park, Texas. Pay attention to how much the shipping costs are because these devices can be kind of heavy, or at least, you know, the weight plays a big impact on how much the shipping costs. Now, the next thing you want to pay attention to is, does this come with a power supply? And very specifically, what power supply does it come with? The goal here is to make your mining environment silent. And what you may find out very quickly is that these power supplies can be just as loud as the AntMiner. So what I like is the Bitmain APW series. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for Bitmain APW and show you some of the options here. The APW 3++ is probably the most commonly deployed one, and all the ones I'm about to talk about will run your L3 Plus just fine. But it's got this little bitty 60mm fan that's going to make all sorts of noise, wee, like a high-pitched squealing fan. And if you want a silent environment, you're going to have to modify your power supply too. The flip side of that is the APW7. The APW7 looks identical to the APW3. It's just a mirror of it. It uses the exact same fan as the APW3. So if you buy an APW7, know that you're going to have to go through the same modification process, the same modification steps of the power supply. I am going to cover how to modify the power supply. Then you have the APW5. It is physically a little bit bigger than the APW3 or 7, but in my experience, it's a very quiet power supply on its own. I have all three of these power supplies downstairs. When you just saw that environment, there were APW3s, one APW7, and one APW5 in that environment. I modified all of my APW3s and APW7s. My APW5 required no modification at all. It does cost a little bit more to buy an APW5 than the APW3s or APW7s, but you want to pay attention to what is shipping with your AntMiner. Lots of times on eBay, when you buy an AntMiner L3 Plus, you're going to get an APW shipped with it. That's kind of like, if you look at this guy right here, look at this. Like that's an APW, right? Let's scroll down just to make sure. I want to make sure I'm not lying here. Where'd it go? Where's the description? All right, it doesn't actually show. Let's see if yeah, that right there, that's definitely an APW3 on that power. So if you buy these from eBay, there's a really good chance you're going to get a Bitmain power supply with it. Just pay close attention to what model you're getting, if you're getting a Bitmain one at all. Otherwise, you may have to buy one separately. So that's the first option that you have. The second option that you have is Alibaba. This is going to be putting you in touch directly with sellers or resellers from China. Now, the way this works is a bit interesting. If I go and search for AntMiner L3 Plus, let's search for this. So here they come back. They come back and they tell you, you see things like, here's an AntMiner in good condition for 100 to 180 bucks. Here's one, 650 to 890, 700 to 1,000, 400 to 500. They look a lot cheaper than what you saw on eBay, right? Well, they are going to be a lot cheaper, but these prices that you're seeing right here are not actually accurate. What you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up hitting this contact supplier button, and it takes you to an entirely different portal where you start a chat with the supplier of these AntMiners. These are businesses that are either buying from Chinese mining companies that are shutting down because of the crackdown in China, or they are the direct mining company themselves and they're just trying to offload their inventory. But you will actually start a negotiation process at that point. You'll go back and forth with them and say, I'm looking to buy 2 AntMiners, 1 AntMiner, 3 AntMiners, whatever the case is. And they'll tell you, like, this is what our prices are, and you can kind of go back and forth and try and negotiate prices from them. With this comes a significant amount more risk, because with eBay, Obviously, you can like file complaints or request refunds. It's a very formalized structure. If your devices aren't what you want, you can like request a partial refund or something like that. With this, it's just what you get in the mail is what you get. And there are many, many people who have had bad luck buying equipment from Alibaba. I have not been one of those people. I got very lucky, I guess, that I bought 3 or 4 from a supplier in China. They all came in. They were not in great condition. They were dirty. They need to be cleaned off a little bit. They were a lot of dust. They were kind of banged up. They had some dents in it, but they all worked. And that was a big plus for me. I have a friend who bought 2 from Alibaba, and none of them work. It only runs like half the boards. And it's got the virus in it that changes your pool. So that can be a huge pain. Also, with these, you very often do not get a Bitmain power supply. So you end up having to buy a Bitmain power supply on your own. But if you're the enterprising type of person who wants to take a little bit of a risk, try and buy some for, half off what you would see on eBay, the shipping goes pretty quick. Once they get it ships via DHL, and I got mine within like 7 days. So not a big problem when it comes to the shipping. It's just the actual condition that they're in. You got to understand these things have been in a hot warehouse where they just let them run. So, you're going to take a little bit more risk when you buy from Alibaba, but if it works out for you, you just got AntMiners for half off. You can clean them up, refurbish them, and do what you got to do, and now you've going to achieve profitability much quicker, and I got lucky in that regard. So this is the places that you can buy and acquire AntMiners. There are other places out there. This is just where I would say these are your options for how to get started. Now, the pool for your AntMiner. I like mining with ProHashing. Here's why I like mining with ProHashing. With mining with ProHashing, first of all, you get this great dashboard where you can see all of the units that you have mining and what they're mining. You see, these are actually mining Dash right now, or Digibyte right now, because one of the cool things, and now they literally just switched to Litecoin on the fly, and now they switch back to Digibyte. You see what's happening here is ProHashing actually has an algorithm that will mine, it'll say like your AntMiners can mine the script algorithm, so we're going to mine whatever is most profitable right now. So if Digibyte is more profitable to mine than Litecoin, it's going to switch to that and vice versa. So it maximizes your earnings per day, which I think is a really, really cool thing. And the second thing that I really, really like about this is you get to choose the currencies that you get paid in. I am choosing not to get paid in any script algorithms. I am getting paid in USD Coin, Ethereum, and Polkadot. And that's a really cool thing in its own, is that you can choose what you want to get. Like some of these, like you can't mine USD Coin and you can't mine Polkadot. Polkadot's a proof of stake coin, which I guess that's a kind of mining, but you can't actually do a proof of work with a miner and mine Polkadot. But I still get paid in it for mining, which is really, really cool. Now this begs the question, how does that really work? Well, if I hover over my top right section and I go to payouts, one of the cool things about it is I can integrate it directly with Coinbase. So by using Coinbase's API, after a couple clicks, I've now directly connected ProHashing to Coinbase. And one of the cool things about that is when I choose to get paid directly to Coinbase, I get paid every night at midnight, no matter how much I earn. There is no minimum for mining with ProHashing, as long as you hook it up to Coinbase and get paid directly to Coinbase. So I get paid every night, which is a really, really cool thing that keeps me nice and flexible. In order to set that up, though, if I just bring up one right here, let's bring up Ethereum. In order to choose this little checkbox right here on the screen, let me circle it right there. Send payouts to Coinbase account. You have to specify a backup address, a backup location to get paid to in the event that Coinbase goes down or there's any sort of error going with Coinbase. So just know that it's not enough to only have Coinbase. You have to have a backup wallet, maybe something like your Ledger account or a DeFi wallet like MetaMask to get that up and running. So this introduces my environment. If you're interested in getting started with ProHashing, check the comments below and you'll find a link, a referral link from me that will help you get started going with ProHashing right away. So when all of this is said and done, don't worry, I'm actually going to show you how do you actually get the configuration items from ProHashing for your AntMiner. We're just not there yet. I want to get my AntMiner modified and online first in order to get that all going. So now you've seen my environment. You know where I procure these devices. You know how I store my AntMiners, how I manage the airflow, where the electricity comes from, and what pool am I mining to. Now it's time to actually roll up my sleeves and get started modifying the actual AntMiner devices. First up, we're going to take a look at doing the power supply because it's actually the easiest modification step first. So we'll knock that out first. All right, thanks for stopping by, y'all. I'll see you in the next one.